All right. Hello. Welcome to this episode of Tea Journey with Ashish and Soham. Hey, Soham. How's it going?
It is going. It is going.
Good, good. So today we are going to drink this wild black tea from Wuyi, China, a region in Wuyi called Tongmuguan. So what do we know about this tea?
Well, it is Tongguan is the origin, considered the origin place of Lapsang Souchong, where a lot of people are familiar with Lapsang Souchong as a pine smoked black tea. The modern Lapsang teas are very smoky, um, and it was never like that apparently. And I recently found this out that they normally were not so piney, but it was a natural effect from producers in that area using um, pine resin um, in the processing of the tea, and then they would just have a natural kind of more subtle, pleasant pine element in the tea. So I'm excited to try this tea because it's a wild um, Lapsang tea. It is made in the traditional style. Where we got this tea from, the our source said it was the best Hongcha or black tea that he's had this season. So that's what made me want to get this tea. And uh, yeah,
Perfect. So you and I were talking about just before we got on here about brewing, how we wanted to brew this, like whether we were going to use a Yixing pot or whether we were going to use a Gaiwan. And we went with this, and I think partly because it is like black tea it can definitely get a little bit intense, especially if it's enclosed in a tight space like a pot. So that's definitely one of the reasons why we're choosing to work with. Well, I'm using a Gaiwan, and you're using
a Shibadoshi. Yeah, basically the Japanese Gaiwan. I feel like the clay of this specific Shibo is really nice for uh, these kind of black teas and oolongs and stuff. Because the thing about this black tea is it's it's considered the first black tea, or at least it has been recorded that it has been said that this tea is the first black tea that was traded. So it'll be interesting to see what this version.
getting that grape nut smell.
Oh, grape nut.
Very nostalgic. That's so I don't know what the technical terms are for this, but there's the three different times you smell the tea. There's when it's dry, and then after you've warmed your vessel or and then you kind of just give it a shake. That's the second time, and then after you add water to the leaf, and then you smell it a third time. I think there's actually names for it. I don't know what they are.
There are, I'm sure.
Yeah. So this is just the second. There's no water on it yet. I'll wait until. I might actually.
Follow your heart. Follow your heart, Ashish. You can put more in there. For the viewers at home, probably both of us, if we're unsure, we'll put more. And then even when we are for sure that we put too much, it's too late at that point. You just gotta ride it.
Well, you can always take some out if you have to, but
I mean,
normally it's fine.
You can.
Yeah.
It's something you could do.
You could do.
Just like you could go out and about in this world or not.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
actually, yes.
there were some specific brewing instructions that where we bought this from. So do you want to just read those real quick, just so we can be aware of them?
I just recommended no more than 20 seconds for the first infusion after the rinse. Honestly, I probably won't rinse this tea.
Yeah. But not a 20-second rinse, though.
No. And then increasing the steeping.
And boiling water.
Yeah. 5 to 10 seconds each time.
All right.
Well, okay, I'm going to give it a rinse just to be professional.
Yeah.
And I will say the leaves warmed in my vessel. I actually smelled like more softer notes than I was expecting, like vanilla. In the bag, I smelled pineapple,
Yeah.
like more of
Yeah,
a
the bag is a lot fruitier. Yeah.
citrus, but specifically pineapple, which I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. It's a beautiful tea. I mean, just looking at the leaves.
Very delicate, bright, fragile, like, but not fragile with a weakness, but just like delicate, very elegant.
Elegant, yeah, that's the best. Oh yeah, you did. You went for it.
But yeah, a very nice smell. Round. It's like it's not piercing. It's just it's kind of like smelling a cloud.
Yeah, once I've taken it away from me, it's almost like a cherry smell.
So this is the first time both of us are having this tea, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I've never had this tea before.
May need a bigger cup. No, I'm good.
Wow.
First steeping. Very nice.
Wow, yeah, that is round.
It's very smooth.
Yeah. In the description, it said round.
Because it has that familiar black tea base to it, like that kind of like what I call grape nutty. It's kind of like, but I'm sure that's not a technical term.
Well, are
nutty.
you referencing the maltiness?
Yeah.
Yeah, from the
It has that, but
oxidization.
some black teas and red teas will also, in addition to that, have like a kind of like a sharper end to them, which this doesn't have.
No, this tea is already. This is probably how people felt like when they watched Star Wars for the first time in theaters, and there was that music and the know, like that style of the text going up, like dun dun dun, like dun 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 dun. You're like, whoa, something is about to happen, and you're you're like absolutely certain that it's going to be good. Like, wow, this movie is going to be awesome.
So do we know what year these leaves are from?
2020. Oh,
okay.
Yeah, it's from 2020.
Wow.
Like it's so smooth considering also that
it
is a very fresh tea.
Very
Um,
And already super energetic. I mean, I think red teas and black teas generally for me, I get they're highly energizing. But yeah, I'm already getting the shift happening.
wow, this is like, it's hydrating though.
Hmm.
Like I feel excited. I feel more so it's an excitement. And
It's only the
I will
first.
also, yeah, I am getting the lychee um, in the aroma.
Mhm.
Like in the dry aroma, there was the pineapple, but then the like smelling, I smell the lychee. Like a have you had lychee before, Ashish?
I have. When I was in college, I lived with a Korean roommate, and he had these big plastic bins of like these little individual cup of jellies,
Oh yeah,
had like a little lychee fruit in the middle. So that's
yeah.
my association with lychee.
Have you ever had like fresh lychee?
Yes, yes, I've also had fresh lychee.
Yeah, I mean it you can only get it so fresh here, but it has a very specific it this tea has it. It's like this it's soft while also having like
Hmm.
a sharpness too. Like it cuts through, but it's also soft, and they're fairly sweet. Um,
And speaking of brew times with this, normally if I approach a black tea or a red tea, I will usually brew them shorter. So
yeah,
having it be like the recommendation being 20 seconds and then increase it is interesting. It's also interesting that even with those long steepings, it doesn't get sharp, because that's why usually my go-to with a red tea or a black tea is to brew it shorter, because they can often have that sharpness to them.
yeah, yeah, and the leaves are opening up fairly significantly.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm glad I didn't use more than I did because I definitely like pushed the amount, um, which is good though because we're putting this tea
Yeah.
to the test, and yeah, wow,
But this is just something that's always nice, like a really basic thing with tea, like to just dig in there, grab one of the leaves out, and just unfold it, because this is just one of the things that you don't, it's just something you want to have with good tea, is just a solid leaf is always at the heart of it. It's not like shredded up. It's not,
yeah,
it's a full leaf. Like, and this leaf I just pulled out at random even has a stem on it,
yeah.
which is great because that's how they pick them, with their fingernail,
Look
cut it
at
at the
that
base.
beautiful,
I mean,
like it again, they are delicate, but they're also sturdy. I'm feeling it, and
yeah,
this
they are.
is,
You pull
and you
on it, it's
put it
tense.
back in there because
It's
my
still,
hands are clean.
it's still got stuff to, and we're the only ones drinking it, so.
We
But yeah,
are.
it's got good tensile strength. Like if I'm like pulling on it and it's not, it just pieces of information basically. And it's got a really nice mm, orange color to the brew.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, yeah, like a
It's a bit,
orangish
yeah.
brown.
This tea is very balanced in its roasted profile, which is subtle. The maltiness is it's there when you need it, and then the fruit is definitely there, but it's like very smooth. Like I know we said it already. Probably will say it again. Very very smooth, and I'm getting a sweat going on, but it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it's necessarily heating me up. It feels like I'm getting a, a sweat that will kind of cool me off a little bit.
Right. I think that's often the way with good energetic teas is like as the energy starts to turn on, sweat and heat dissipation does happen, but then it rounds out in later steepings.
Yeah, and you know, thinking about this as like an origin of black tea is really, it's really good to think about it that way, because when I drink this tea, I'm experiencing kind of like this nostalgic quality, which you spoke to immediately with grape nuts, or grape nut, because for us here in the States, like, especially in a certain age bracket, like, you know, there's some distance in age between us, but still not so much that like we wouldn't have both experienced grape nuts when we were young. Like I associate with that with my grandpa, and he would always have it at the house. And then I liked it so much that like we would have it at our house, because I always loved crunchy things, right? But I think most of us have had some experience with malt, that malt flavor at some point, like whether it was like candy or drinks or cereal or some kind of food. And black tea tends to have like some kind of, in the processing with the hand rolling and oxidizing the tea, you're going to get some kind of maltiness, and different kinds of expressions. This tea, though, you can tell it is a wild tea, in the sense that I feel like the energy is more pronounced. Like it feels very lively,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's clearly from a pristine area, because I feel like I could taste like how awesome the area. Like it just
Right.
you know, I feel that from it, and the mouthfeel. I mean, the mouthfeel alone, because I'm not one to drink a lot of fruity teas. I don't drink a lot of oolong teas, and that could change in the future. It just is what's. I mean, I appreciate them though. I appreciate a good Wuyi rock oolong. Like, I don't know anybody that like is like, no, I don't like oolong. Like oolong, a good oolong can be. I mean, the handful of times I've cried while drinking tea was from like those kind of teas. So obviously, like I respect those teas, and they're wonderful. But this tea is like, this is the kind of tea that you want to like share with people. Um, you want to share with your family. There's something about like my partner's over there, and I'm like, hey, can you
Have
come
some tea.
over and have some? I would come over there, but I gotta do this. And yeah, I'm just like, I can't get over it's so balanced.
Yeah.
It really is nostalgic for me, and there is like a soft, like kind of vanilla quality.
Yeah, I definitely get the vanilla. Yeah.
Wow. And but what's cool is I'm also kind of getting from like a little bit of that roast, like in the smell. It's like chocolate and vanilla at the same time. I'm only on steeping two, so
That's the second steeping, or
that
that's the
was the
third?
second. That was
This is the third though, right?
This is the third.
Right. Yeah.
This one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting experience, this tea. Just it's definitely like, like a lot of times when we're drinking like a Chopin or a Liu Bao, like I've just like, maybe it's just because I'm so used to those teas, but I'm like going through the steepings. Like I'm already
Yeah.
be at like the fifth steeping right now.
Yeah.
This one definitely has its own pace to it. I feel like it calls for a slower pace.
Yeah.
It's the energy of the tea.
Yeah. Even the recommended brewing too.
Right, longer time. It's definitely quiet.
It is. It is a peaceful tea.
Mm-hmm.
This would be a good morning tea. I mean, we're recording this like early evening. I'm not concerned about that. I feel like I'll sleep well tonight. Um,
I mean, this steeping got even more smooth for me.
yeah, same. See,
And the
like,
heating aspect has dissipated.
yeah.
I still feel it in my kind of head a little bit, but it's not
Mm.
happening.
See, like normally, um, just with my setup now and my recent life change, the easiest way for me to just keep the temperature really hot for these recordings is just, doing the temperature of the water where I like it and then putting it in this thermos, like preheating the thermos, putting it in here. So
Right.
I'm for sure pretty much it's staying at the temperature I want throughout our recording. And wow, um, this tea is just, yeah, what this tea is doing for me, it is reminding me of why I like tea in a different way. Like when I first started drinking tea, I mean, I've always loved black teas. Um, and like most people in the States, grew up drinking English breakfast,
Right.
Earl Grey, and then Indian black teas,
Yep.
and this tea is really showing up as a quintessential black tea. Again, full circle, this being an original black tea, the first black tea, if not one of the first black teas, makes total sense to me because it's got everything that you want from a home cha. It's got everything from the complexity, the fruity notes, the smoothness, the strength. It's not overly floral or fruity, but it's there.
Not too strong.
Yeah, and it has a nice body. Like it's full bodied, but I can't I can't fault anything about this tea really um, at this point.
Yep.
Not that that's the way I am with tea. I kind of just at this point in my selection, I trust that I know that I'm getting a good tea. Whether or not it will be like something I really really like and want to have again is another thing. But like I know that I'm getting a good tea, and this is my first time getting from this source, and this tea kind of just called to me. I uh, saw a picture and saw the descriptions. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna. The price was right too. Honestly, the pretty reasonable price considering how awesome this tea is.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
maybe because it's not, it might not be on a lot of people's radar. I think a lot of people would kind of just go for uh, more entry level uh, black tea over, or like go to like a yancha, the Wuyi rock oolong before going to this tea. But I really like the wild red
Mhm.
teas that I've had. And this one is cool because I've had a lot of wild purple red teas recently. And the purple teas have a little more of a tang-a-lang, unless they've been aged for a year or two. And this does not have that like lingering, like we were talking about earlier, the sharpness that can happen with some of these teas.
Yep. But just observing kind of the things that have just come up in conversation, there's definitely a reminiscent
Yeah.
quality that this tea evokes. Like even in the beginning, when you were talking about lychee, the way that I referenced it was a memory from college, right? So it's like there's something about the tea. So you know, again, like you're saying, great to share with somebody because it may just like allow interesting stories and reflections to more easily flow.
Hmm.
Energizing, but still meditative. I mean, I could easily do a meditation with this tea.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now, people, in one of the videos that we did on a forest spirit liu bao, people were very interested in the aspect of that being a very grounding tea. Now, this tea I would still say is grounding, but also it's not necessarily as far on the spectrum of grounding as that aged liu bao. It's definitely further up the scale of that spectrum. Um, so that, you know, there, and therefore has that energizing quality to it, you know, the external energization that you could easily go and do some activities, be creative with this tea.
Yeah. Um, when I did, when I participated in the Vipassana retreat earlier this year, um, I brought two teas with me. I brought a big leaf pu'er tea, the sheng pu'er, and I brought a Dunsong oolong tea. That was not unlike this tea
Mm.
in its everything. It's very similar. And what I noticed about drinking that Dunsong tea for 8 hours of meditating throughout the day is you definitely need some motivation if you're not normally meditating for 8 hours a day. I think it was even more than 8 hours. It was like the entire, it's like 10, just all day. And what I noticed is that it definitely lifted me up, but because I was applying that energy to meditation, it just, I still felt relaxed. I felt very peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt more focused. I was just more ready to meditate, but I
Right.
was applying that energy solely pretty much to meditation. Now, if I had this tea, oh yeah, if I had this tea and then I had to get in the car, be in rush hour traffic, like this is not something that a lot of us are doing right now.
I mean, what tea is really
No,
ideal for doing that anyway?
I don't think, but that's the thing. What I'm getting at is that that's not really, um, humans probably haven't been doing that a lot in the grand scheme of
Right.
us
The long
existing.
length of time. Yeah.
And so I feel like this tea definitely is great for going about your day.
Right.
Um, but I feel like it would be best if you
Give
made
it some
space
time.
for this tea and you had it in the morning and you just really sat with it and let it kind of circulate a bit before, like what I'm saying is I wouldn't be necessarily drinking this tea as I'm drinking this tea as I'm working, or
Right.
drinking a
Right.
little bit and then going right into some computer work or whatever. I would actually want to really sit with this tea because I'm feeling how it's kind of it's activating one part in a way, but it's slowing me down in another way.
Right.
And that's, I feel like, what a good tea does is it does this kind of dual action where
Right.
it's
It does basically the opposite of what you imagine. What it does is like driving your car to a drive up at Starbucks to get a beverage that's basically going to jack you up so
yeah,
that you can
yeah,
stay awake for the next like hour. it's, it's like
yeah,
that whole thing is completely opposite of what this is about.
Here's a good analogy for that. Ibuprofen. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's really great when you really need it. Like when you're really in a spot, it can give you just the right amount of relief so that you can just do the thing. Do you want to have it every day? No. But what that is they took something from a plant, one quality from that plant, synthesized it and made it very potent, and then mixed it with some other things, and then boom, you got the thing. So what ends up happening is it's really good for a more acute, specific situation, but it's not an overall holistic thing
Right.
necessarily. And so the way I look at a lot of modern black tea, that how we relate to, how a lot of us still in this country relate to black tea, is it's like this high potency,
Mm-hmm.
high caffeine, high something, edgy
Right.
situation. And you get a lot of what a lot of people associate with the black tea is that like heady buzz. You get like this like laser beam thing going on. And I haven't had a lot of those teas lately. If I'm
And a
going
lot of
in,
the teas that are being used for chais and other things that people are going to for that is just low quality tea. It's
yeah,
commercially farmed, monocrop. So part of that aspect is because of the fact that it's actually like an aspect. Those are the kinds of things you experience when there's chemicals in tea or
yeah,
something like that.
exactly. And I will say that, you know, a lot of times with chai, I use PG tips because it has a specific flavor that I, you know, I'm not somebody that's like, you know, I will never ever have a tea like, you know, but it's great for chai. You know, it's
Right.
I like it because again, reminiscentness, reminiscence. I PG tips maybe. I mean, it says it's rainforest safe. They probably use a little bit of agrochemicals in their process. I wouldn't doubt it. However, there's a feeling I get when I have the PG tips with the chai, and overall, like, oh, it reminds me of. Do I have it every day? Absolutely not. Do I ever have it? Yes, I do. Uh, but same with this tea. I would not have this tea every day, but I would have it in the for the right setting. And I feel like if I want to have a good time with somebody, you know, like have a nice, pleasant time, this is a very pleasant tea. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think that especially people that don't really drink a lot of tea, they would enjoy this tea because it would remind them of like, hey, you like tea. Like who
It has a
doesn't
very
like tea?
tea, it has a very tea, especially this is my fourth or fifth steeping. I don't know. What are you on?
Probably the fifth. This is my fifth I'm about to have.
I'm on the fifth. So it has a very tea flavor to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this steeping in particular is like, this is like how black tea, like commercial black tea, this is what it's trying to taste like
Hmm. Yeah.
right now.
This is what it's trying to taste like right now.
That's
Yeah.
the tagline for
Yeah.
this tea.
This is the title for
This
the
is
video.
what commercial tea,
This is
black tea
what
is
tea is trying
trying
to taste like. Yeah. This is what tea is trying to taste like right now.
to.
So it feels like we're kind of at least starting to wind down this video.
Right. But the tea is definitely not winding down.
No. Tea is not one.
But yeah, I mean, I think that people kind of get a feel of, but yeah, I feel like, I don't know how long we've been going with it, maybe between 20 and 30 minutes at this point.
Mhm.
But I feel like this one tea, like easily, you can fill an hour with it as
Oh
it
yeah.
is what it can easily go for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So are there any like words other than the words we've said, like reminiscent, smooth? So we have a lot of keywords here: smooth, reminiscent, nostalgic,
Well, I would say, you know,
uh,
a,
fruity.
a big part of my experience is like the fact that if we weren't doing this video, I would be talking a lot less, I feel, with this tea. Because
Same.
I feel like there's just a lot of stillness that it is like I have in order to do this particular thing, I'm not going against the current, but like I would more naturally be like just like sitting in the energy of this tea, the relaxing quality in the body, stillness,
Hmm.
especially on these later steepings. Like steeping 2 and 3 definitely had the peak of the energy. It was like actually even on steeping 1, I was saying like it had the peak of like the energy and in terms of how it was felt in the body and in the head. It's still very energetic, but it's definitely like very calming and stilling. Um, you know, which is interesting. But yeah, so that, I guess whatever I had to say was in that.
Okay. Whatever I had to say was in that. That's another good title for this video. So personal, I'll get a little bit personal here.
Mm,
I've been working on my speech, not saying like a lot.
mm,
And I have found that this tea helps me stay focused. Also, every now and then looking over at my partner, who may or may not be looking over here, to see how I'm doing. She wasn't even paying attention apparently, but maybe I wasn't doing it. Uh, yeah, I feel like this tea has, speaking to the relaxing quality, I feel like this tea is watchful.
mhm,
Okay, so there's that sensation that probably many of us have had in our lives where we feel that something or somebody or someone is watching over us. And sometimes that's uncomfortable. It might
mhm,
be more of like a, ugh, or, and that feeling of something watching over us, somebody watching over us in a very benevolent, reassuring, I feel safe kind of way.
mhm.
Whether it's when we were children and it's our parents looking out for us, or sometimes when I'm in the woods and it's like, oh, I feel like I'm, the trees are watching over me. It's like I feel that this tea has that kind of energy. It's very, it's a very supportive, nourishing energy, and it's encouraging me to be mindful of what I'm putting out there. And maybe I've that's kind of just where I've been at today. I've been thinking about these things.
Well, Venus went direct today.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That
After
makes
Venus has been in retrograde. So,
hmm, that makes a lot of sense because
lay down.
for a lot of reasons.
Lay
It's
down.
kind of a little it's feeling a little more like yesterday, maybe because it was the culmination of that
Yeah.
energy. But yeah,
But
it's a benevolent
yeah.
watchful, like observant, encouraging me to be observant and mindful of
Mhm.
what I'm putting out there.
Okay. I'm getting like lemon in this tea now. It's almost as if people had this tea and then a good tea like this and they're like, oh, we need a black tea. Oh, but where's the lemon flavor? Let's add lemon,
That's
now, yeah,
exactly what happened to Ashish. And then of course sugar, right? Because it's
right.
just like with chocolate. It's like, oh, let's try. Let's not actually do the thing that is going to for sure work, which is high quality,
Right.
um, like painstaking measures taken, because you love the thing. No. Let's remove all of that, and let's just use the lowest quality thing, and then mix in sugar and emulsifiers and all these things, and it'll kind of be like that.
It'll taste like
But,
that.
but not really. That's good. Actually, that's good that you pointed that out, because honestly, right when I sipped that, I was like, oh, it does have that.
Lemon.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
again, it's still wet. It's not drying. It's not drying out.
That's another good point. This tea, I'm not experiencing a drying sensation with this tea. I'm not experiencing that in my mouth so much. I'm getting a pop. Sometimes you get tingles in your mouth because it's not the tingles you want.
Right.
Like the chemi tingles. This chemi tingle. It sounds like some kind of dark Santa Claus. The chemi tingles.
Or one of his elves, anyway.
Yeah. It's like that's the elf that makes all of the like the bad candy that you don't want your kid to eat. The chemi tingler. No, this tea, it has a really pleasant lingering in the mouthfeel sensation. It's not drying. It definitely, it's low. It's a subtle presence that is very agreeable, where you might not even notice it. We might not notice it because of how we're being a little more outward, in that we're being filmed and we're talking to each other.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very durable too. I mean, the color is still very vibrant on this tea at this point. The brews, it still has a great flavor palette.
I'm glad that, honestly, I'm glad that I looked up the suggested brewing for this tea.
Yeah, I wouldn't have brewed it as long.
Yeah, I wouldn't have either. I'm confident that I would not have done what I am doing now. And I'm glad that I'm doing what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that I followed the guidance to look that up. I often do that with roasted teas, with black teas, with oolongs, because they're not my main drinking tea.
Yeah.
And so I like to fall back on a formula just to really give the tea its due.
Right. Cool.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I think we've covered enough on this tea. So appreciate you all tuning in to watch it. You know what to do if you're interested in it. And thank
So we
you.
don't have a
So
name for this tea yet.
we will have one by the time that this video comes out. But I don't have any ideas right now, and I don't. If we put
no spoiler alert,
then we'll have to stick with it. So
there might be some foreshadowing in this video of what is.
I'm sure there will. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll make sense.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Thanks a
Something
lot.
like the name of tea. The name of tea.
The name of tea will be the name.
Well, yeah. Thanks for watching, y'all, and I would definitely say buy this tea, try this tea. It is worth trying, and it is definitely worth sharing with someone, particularly someone that maybe doesn't tend to join you in your tea. Maybe your partner, maybe a dear friend that you try to get them to have tea with you. This is the tea that if they smell it from a distance, they might come over to your table and have tea.
Word.
Okay.